Islam at a Glance is brought to you by
अमरीका में पाकिस्तानियों को अमरीकी सियासी अमल का हिस्सा बनाने में मसरूफ़ अमल अमरीकन पाकिस्तानी पब्लिक अफेयर्स कमेटी। अमरीका में बसने वाले पाकिस्तानियों का मुस्तकबिल सियासी अमल में शमूलियत से है। आइए सियासी शोर को उजागर करने के लिए आप भी AP पैक का साथ दीजिए।
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillahi ahda wassalatu wassalamu man la nabiyya ba'da. Dear viewers, the topic today is Muslim advocacy in the United States. I would start by reciting this ayah from Surah Al-Imran. Hasbi Allahu ni'mal wakil Ni'mal Mawla wa Ni'mal Nasir. Sufficient is for me the advocacy of Allah, or Allah as an advocate for me, or my attorney. Ni'mal Mawla wa Ni'mal Nasir, and his guardianship and his nusra, or his help, is enough for me, is sufficient for me. So for being a Muslim, this should be in our mind, that the best of advocacy is that of Allah. That if He speaks for you, if He is there for you as He is, then you are not in need of any more advocacies if Allah is with you. And to keep Allah on your side, what we need to do is to follow what He has told us to follow, and follow His Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If we do that, and if we are living even in an environment which is not so friendly for us, or it is a harsh environment, whatever it may be, the help of Allah, if it becomes available, you will be fine. And to do that, what you need to do is that you, if you will behave and you keep your character and your way of life according to His principles, then you will become a person or a personality, a character that is so dear to the people that even the people will become your advocate. They will be ready to come for your help. They will be ready to protect you, because you are following who is the protector of all. And He will, because of your following of His principles, He will produce in you, He will put in you a kind of appeal, a kind of love for the others. Because in general, the human, they like certain characteristics, they value certain characteristics which is more humanly characteristics. If you follow Allah's commands and His Prophet's way, then your character will be like that, and you will be loved by the people. If there will be one voice against you in your neighborhood, at your work, in your school, there will be 10 voices that will come up in support of you. Because always, as I said, the goodness, it has an appeal for the people, general people also. So our first intention should be to follow Allah, and when we follow Allah, definitely we will have to behave in a way that is the best possible human nature. We have to bring it out, that in your neighborhoods people know you as a good man, somebody who is above average, somebody who is they look up to. So in that case, you have created a protection automatically for yourself. After saying that, let's go back to the time of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam to just pick up on one particular incident or one particular event that happened in the history. That when Muslims were being persecuted in Makkah to the extent that it became unbearable for many of them, especially the weaker ones, who were being exploited and mistreated by the enemies of Islam, which were in bigger number. They were strong in Makkah at the earlier times of the dawah of Islam. So Prophet ﷺ gave them permission to go or migrate to a place called Abyssinia or Habasha, that was in Africa. And the reason he said that why you should go there is that there is a just king over there, a king that likes justice, that treats the people in a justful way. So he allowed the people to migrate to such a place where there is a law that is indiscriminatory, and that where you can get your human rights, your civil rights like the others. So this is what has been happening in the earlier waves of migration of Muslims to the United States. If I don't go much far, if we look after, for example, 1965, when the immigration laws were relaxed and a big number of people from various parts of the Islamic world and other parts of the world, but since we are talking about Muslim advocacy here, we are focusing on that diaspora, the Muslim American diaspora. So they migrated in big number since mid-60s, and then the migration continued and is still continuing in those times, the earlier times, 60s, 70s, 80s, up to 90s also. The people from the Islamic world were migrating sometimes for the similar reasons that I just mentioned in case of Habasha or Abyssinia, that Prophet ﷺ mentioned the reason. That they thought that the place, United States, is like a heaven for them, because in their own lands, where the Muslim rulers, most of them were autocratic, despotic rulers, which were not treating their own people nicely. They were tyrants, and they were very harsh on the population, and especially those who were more closer to Islam and they were practicing Islam in the real way, and they wanted to point out to the wrongful attitude of the government or the ruler. They were the victims most severely treated in lots of the countries of the Islamic world, mostly the Middle East and other places where these kind of things were going on. So they escaped from there for a land where they thought there will be justice, and it was like that. Actually, the people in United States, they are freedom-loving people. They fought a war themselves to get their independence from imperialism. So they knew what freedom is, and they loved their freedom, and they were ready to open their arms and accept. This is the history of the United States, that it is built, the country is built by the immigrants. Earlier, the people from Europe and later on from other places continue to pour in, because it is the land of opportunities and land of freedom. So that brought the Muslims over there. It is only in the last couple of decades that we saw the deteriorating situation in United States, especially with respect to Muslims. Although in their history, in the history of the United States, we have seen similar things happening to other groups. Like in the earlier part of their history, we see the treatment that was done to the Afro-American diaspora when they were brought from Africa as slaves and then they were mistreated for a long time. And even before that, the native Indians who were living there, the treatment was not very good, and they were discriminated and they were badly treated. So America has a history of treating their minorities in a wrong way, be it the Native Americans, be it Afro-Americans, be it Japanese at the times of the World War, like that. Maybe this is the time for Muslims that they have started treating them in a wrongful way. The good thing in this history is that American people, and this is really a quality of American people that I, from my personal experience, have seen in many instances in my neighborhood, in my school, in my workplace. I have seen this quality of the American people, that if you tell them that they are wrong at certain things that they are doing, they are ready to accept it. That is the great quality. Although they will do something wrong, but if you make them realize that what they are doing is not correct, it's against their own principles, it is against the human rights, whatever the reason for their behavior being wrong, if you make them realize it, they do realize, and then they roll back on whatever they have been doing, and they try to fix the things, and they have done it in many cases, and in other cases still there is a space to cover, the ground to cover. But what is happening to the Muslims in this scenario, you can always have this good feeling that is going to go away. It's not going to stay there, as it didn't stay with the other groups. The major point of change in the behavior was a terrible incident of 9/11. After that, many things from the level of the government changed for the Muslims slowly. It was not immediate. It was like over the next 2-3 years, there was a campaign by the governmental agencies there, in some cases, some of the NGOs and some religious people as well, the media and all that. It created a kind of atmosphere based on fear. Fear of what? Fear of that these are some people who are against your way of life. They don't like the way the Americans live. That was a wrong notion that was propagated against Muslims, that they are against your way of life. And you know that the Americans like their way of life. Somebody said that even if Jesus comes today and tell them that this way of life is not according to what I tell you through the revelation that you should be living, they will tell him even, no, we will follow you as far as religion is concerned, but don't mess with our way of life. So they like their way of life. And there is something in there because they have built it over the years and they like it too. They enjoy that and they are comfortably living in there, so they like it. But the thing that was created a wrong kind of feeling about Muslims, that they are backward people, they are too much cruel, and they are they didn't care about the freedom, and they mistreat the people and all that. This was a mix of wrong statements that were thrown by very responsible people, even as I said, the people in the government and other places. So after 9/11, that was the trend that continued. And it was in that background that Muslims have really thought about their own rights in that country. Because in those times, there was a lot of harassment, there was a mistreatment, there was discrimination against the Muslims. So that as a reaction, the Muslim advocacies and the organizations, they came up, they started thinking about how to legally protect ourselves and our rights in this country. and that gave rise to such activities in Muslims, and that was a very nice thing to happen. It is the same process that happened with the Afro-American, for example. When they went through this harsh times, they come up with these kind of organizations and these kinds of activity for their advocacies, where they can see how the law and legal system supports them. In many cases, Muslims were, the majority of them were the immigrants. And it is slowly that the ratio is going in favor of the local and second generation Muslims. At this time even, it is more than 50%, about 58%, I recently saw some stats, are still the people who are first generation. But the second generation and the local Muslims are catching up. So these people who were born and brought up in the United States, they will have much better understanding of the rights that they have in that country, as compared to the immigrants who went there, and they took a long time to learn about it, and many of them they don't even know even today. But overall also, the immigrants or the local second generation people, it is not easy for every one person to understand the complete law of United States. It's a very complicated law. Over the years, they have, it happens to any man-made system, that when you don't care about what your creator tells you to make it as a law or what we call Sharia, that you don't give any place to the creator and you try to bring about your own law, then you have to amend it. They keep on amending, adding things and all that, and it has become a very complicated thing. It's not easy to understand. Somebody told me that once in the United States, the way the justice is done is through they choose the panel from the public. It's not the judges who are making the decision in the initial cases of initial part of any justice process of justice, but it is through a people selected from the common guys and women to be jury, and through the jury this justice is carried out. So for the selection of jury, once the way they do it, they send the invitation to 200 people or 100 people, and out of that they select 4, 5, 6, whatever is needed. So in one of such gatherings, the one person from the law department, he said to the audience of maybe 100, 200 people, and he said that this book, and he has this thick 6,000 or some pages book about the legal system, and he said that, do you know what is in that? You are expected to know everything which is present in that. And almost everybody said, we don't know what is in there. Because it's not everybody. It's one person stood up and he said that I don't know what is in there. This is so much, this so thick book. How can I know everything? He said, you are supposed to know what is in there. So this is the situation. The people don't know what is the law, what is the legal system. They need to be taught what are your rights, what is happening in such atmosphere, such environment, which I just shared with you since the 9/11, and more so after the recent change in the presidency, that we are seeing White House giving these kind of signals, which are actually helping in creating an atmosphere of hatred against the Muslims. So in this whole atmosphere, if you don't know your rights, if you don't know how to move in the society according to the constitution and according to the law, then you will be caught in sometimes by the agencies. Sometimes the things they do, like things like entrapment. Sometimes they bring a piece of law which is you don't know about it. And I can share you many examples, my personal, from my acquaintance, that they have been trapped through this entrapment or using some law from from many years ago, which has never been applied. But when they want to apply against someone, they use such law. There is a saying. It is said that in the United States, if you are standing, you are breaking 4 laws. If you start moving, then you break 10 more laws. So everybody breaks the law, but they are never caught about that. They are never put in prisons about that. But when they have to treat somebody in a wrong way or trap someone, they will make use of those things, that you break this law, you break that law. This is how the Constitution, this is how the law system of United States works. So in this situation, it is necessary that the Muslim organizations such as CARE or the U.S. Council of Muslim Organizations and other organizations of Muslim advocacy should teach their people, should give them a chance to understand their rights, and should also help them when their rights are violated through the making them the legal aid available. Muslim Legal Aid is another organization. So it is needed, because whoever is living in a minority situation, such as Muslims in United States, and these days the things are not going very good. As I said, that it is not going to stay like that, in my opinion. But in this situation, it is necessary that we understand the law, we follow the legal system, but we need to understand that if you don't know the details, and I will end by just sharing with you one case that from my acquaintance, that one young person was trapped because he was in a camping trip where some of the agents who were involved in entrapment of those boys, they were Muslim boys, and they said that why don't you do a target shooting? And he even asked the agent that, is it allowed for me? And he said that yes, it is allowed. They were being entrapped. And in Texas, this happened in Texas. In Texas, it is common that boys and young people, they go and do the shooting in the camping environment. But it is a federal crime. If it is a federal crime for a person who is not a citizen of United States, if he touches a weapon, it's a crime and he can be put into prison. And this person was not a citizen at that time, and they made him touch the weapon. And to trap them, what they did is they brought the weapons from another state. So the state law of Texas would not apply to them, but the federal law will apply. So they use these techniques just to entrap and just to create a kind of fear for the community. Unfortunately, this is happening. I don't say that everybody does that, but some of the agents and some people who are not very careful, they use these kinds of tactics. And if it is coming from the top level, it becomes easier for the people who are at the operational level to use this kind of discrimination. So we need to be aware of these things, and the Muslims need to be together. These advocacy groups should arrange the training sessions, especially for the Muslim youth and other people, to let them know of their rights, and they are doing that. It is very encouraging to see if there is a problem with any Muslim anywhere in the United States, it doesn't go unnoticed. One statistic: in 2017, 48% of the Muslims who were interviewed, they said that in the last 12 months, we have faced one incident of discrimination. That tells you the situation which is going on in the United States. But again, it's not going to stay there. But you need to be very vigilant about your rights, and you should not let anybody get into any trouble just because he doesn't know what rights are available to him or her. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المؤمنين والمؤمنات. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
Islam at a Glance was brought to you by
امریکہ میں پاکستانیوں کو امریکی سیاسی عمل کا حصہ بنانے میں مصروف عمل امریکن پاکستانی پبلک افیئرز کمیٹی۔ امریکہ میں بسنے والے پاکستانیوں کا مستقبل سیاسی عمل میں شمولیت سے ہے۔ آئیے سیاسی شعور کو اجاگر کرنے کے لیے آپ بھی اے پی پیک کا ساتھ دیجیے۔